Hello. I had a question about tightness. And so, say your hamstrings are really tight. Your body is a tensegrity system. That just means that if you pull tension in one place, it's going to pull it in another. If you release it in one place, it will also help release it in another. And so, a lot of times when there's tightness in bigger muscles, if we get at the smaller muscles and make smaller movements and release those, we can work from the center out. So specifically, the question was about tightness. Sometimes hamstrings can be really tight, and a lot of times it's because something in the pelvis is pulling, or a low back can be tight. And so specifically, there is a muscle that goes from your sacrum to your leg bone. It goes sideways. It's called the piriformis because it's pear-shaped. Latin for pear-shaped. Anyway, those muscle fibers slide sideways. So when they pull together, it turns the femur bone out. When they pull apart and they stretch, it turns femur bone in. You have one on your right side, one on your left side, and they attach to the sides of the triangular bone, your sacrum. And so I'm going to show you a few ways that you can actually work them and release them by using a yoga block. I used a regular one earlier, and when I realized this was the answer to this question that I received, I was like, oh, I have to share this. So first, we're going to do a little hamstring flexibility test. Sometimes it's just kind of nice to check and see. If you only have one leg that'll go up, just kind of check how far. Oh, I love you. You're a star. Yeah. Last time they were being the camera cats. And then if you can, both legs can come in. Just notice tension in the back, or can you get your leg to here, here, or here? So we're just gonna notice where we're starting. So we're gonna use the block. Boys, they never wanna play with me until now. I'm gonna place the block underneath my pelvis. That way, my 3 pelvic bones are level. And I'm gonna float the legs in. It's gonna look like I'm arched the whole time, but I'm actually pulling ribs down toward the floor. We'll begin by rolling right hip joint forward and then rolling it back. And then the left side. And you're gonna do about 6 to 8 of those, trying as much as you can to relax most of your leg muscles so you don't have to tense anything. How relaxed can you be? And then your psoas and the muscles that are actually helping you roll the hip joint forward and back are going to do their job a little bit better. And then you'll alternate the legs. This is more like walking. I love you too, Shmooey. And then lastly, I set the camera up a little bit different this time because I want to show you. We're going to think about the bottom of the pelvis, those 2 little knob sit bones that we sit on. You can touch them if you reach behind. I'm going to keep my feet together and I'm going to open my knees, but I'm not going to do it from the knee. I'm going to either think about the head of the femurs turning out a little, or if you can, think of the sit bones opening a little bit. Lower that shape down, and then think of the sit bones pulling together or the hip joints rolling in, squeeze inner thighs, and lift it up. Do a few going in this direction, and then a few going in the other direction. And as I'm doing this, I'm keeping my bottom ribs actively pressing down. I love you too. Then I'm going to check my hamstrings. I didn't check them when I started that, so I should have done that, but just kind of see how they feel here. I can take this out. Is there any improvement from before? Maybe 0.1%, I don't know. Then I'm going to do all that again with the block under my pelvis this direction. So there's a little less space to balance on, and pulling my bottom ribs down. Slow, lower, and lift, right and left. The slower you go, the more in tune you can get with what's happening in that femur head. And then alternating. And the piriformis works. You've got to stop eating my hair, babe. Piriformis works when I open sit bones, rotate hip joints out, and open the knees a little bit. That's That's pulling them together without them overusing, and they are working equally. I made another video earlier and she didn't give a hoot, but he kept moving the camera and then going down the other direction. If you get to here and this just doesn't feel good on your back, then you don't have to do this level. And then I'm gonna just check my hamstrings here. Gonna see how that feels. Take the block out, check them here. Is that getting any better? Okay, this is seriously, like, you never pay any attention to me ever, and this is the time. Right, that's fine. I'll take it, but still. Now I'm lastly gonna put that block on my sacrum. Something I like to do when I'm in a high bridge position is try to pull my inner thighs together and take a few breaths here. This allows everything to the right and left of the sacrum to relax. I'm gonna bring both legs up and I'm just gonna test my hamstrings, see how they feel there. And then I'll begin again, holding onto that to make sure I don't fall off of it. Slowly down, slowly up. I am keeping my lowest ribs pulled towards each other so I'm not cutting off my trachea, keeping those down. And then a slow walk. And then finally, the hip open, knee open, sit bone open to go down and up. And then reversing that down and up to about 3 to 5, 5 to 8, whatever you have time for. I've done these a few times now. It's getting a little intense on my low back. So I'm just gonna take that out. Check my hamstrings again. It's definitely further than they were going earlier when I started. And then I wanna try that whole routine with my ribs in the ground. What does that feel like? There's a lot of strength in that. Slowly roll that down. So we're eliminating the overuse of muscles that are super duper duper tight. Sometimes the best way to get at a bigger muscle is to work those smaller muscles. And then lastly, the knee open, sit bone open, hip joint roll, down and up, down and up. You may notice, I notice popping in my right hip when I do this, but I feel like it's putting a ligament back in the right place. And because the other boxed, or the other pieces with the block helped to keep my SI joints level as I'm moving. So I hope that that helps. Hamstrings feel a little better there. Thank you. Have a great day. See you when I get back from Mexico. Mwah.